3.
So, Chief, this is something new, real estate fraud task force. If you can just kind of give an overview, and I know it's tied in with the county, but also include in there, how big of an issue is this throughout the county? And then let me go ahead and see if Ms. Spiegel has anything she wants to tag on to that. Anything additional?
No, I just wanted the same thing, the issue, but also what we've done to reconcile that, was you explained, Chief. I thought that was something of great interest.
Well, and I'll chime in real quickly because I had an immediate concern the day I opened up the agenda and saw the $191,000. So I think your explanation was great. So if you just look at this, it looks daunting, but it's not. So you're on.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree it's not, but there is some questions and some interesting history that goes along with it. So with that, what the item you have before you would authorize the Corona Police Department to participate in the Riverside County District Attorney's Office of Real Estate Fraud Task Force. What does that all mean? Historically, the task force has been consisted primarily 100% of Riverside DA investigators paid for through the county, paid for through a special fund that was approved through the county board over 10 years ago that's attached to real estate transactions. There's a service fee for every single real estate transactions, changing title, changing houses, selling homes, etc. So there's a lot of funding there, but all that money was allocated just for Riverside County investigators. As we're all aware, there's new leadership in the district attorney's office, including a new DA and a new chief of investigations. And collectively, they have made the decision to share now those resources with local communities around them, and rather have that team just consist of Riverside DA investigators. They're inviting surrounding cities, ourselves, Corona, obviously, Riverside, Marietta, Palm Springs, Indio, and a few others, I believe, to join into their task force and actually pay full fund a detective to work real estate fraud. Our interest in this is pretty much two-pronged. First being that these cases, individual suspects that work real estate fraud are often tied to other cases that have a similar nexus to it, whether it be organized crime, money laundering, etc. So we're already working similar cases. The real estate part of it they were handling, so we're trying to communicate, making sure we're working parallel cases. By putting a Corona detective on their task force, that would allow that instant communication with our team and their team. Additionally, because the funding was going directly into the Riverside County's team, all cases that were stemming from Corona that involved real estate fraud went right to the DA's office, and 95% of them, we as Corona PD never saw them. So for the service angle of it, we would now put a Corona detective on that task force, and we have Corona citizens, Corona community members that are victim of real estate fraud. They're now going to be dealing directly with a Corona detective. So there's that home influence, home experience, so to speak, which is of great value to us as well. As for the funding, it is reoccurring funding that they pay for. So the $191,000 is paid for year after year by the county to pay for this brand new detective position. So it's not going to cost us out of our general fund $191,000. That money is coming from this real estate trust fund. And like I said, it's been historically in operation now and funded now for over 10 years. And there's no reason that's not going to continue to be funded with it being attached to every single real estate transaction. There would be one-time costs to buy a vehicle and some equipment. The PD would pay for that out of our own current PD budget, so we would not be seeking general funding for that. The only thing we would be seeking reoccurring funding for is a vehicle maintenance fee. Anytime the city buys a vehicle, there's service money that we set aside each year to service that vehicle as it gets older in the following years. That total is going to be approximately $7,000. So we'd be getting a brand new detective assigned to the department, vehicle, everything else, and it's going to cost us about $7,000 a year. More importantly, we're going to have one of our local detectives on the task force handling the cases, which is going to bring back home any nexus to cases that we're already working. And then, like I mentioned, for our community who go to the DA's office with a case, they're now going to be dealing, if they're from Corona, with a Corona detective.
So you do anticipate that the funding will continue. It's not a one-year, correct?
Correct. That's the question I had is explain to me how I know this money's going to continue. We're not going to do it for 1 year and all of a sudden I'm coming back to you and saying now I need $191,000 reoccurring. And like I mentioned, it's been in existence now for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's actually a $10 service fee that's been approved through the Board of County Supervisors for every real estate transaction, change of title, change of home, selling a home. So it's actually going to be, even when you go into recession, you still have, unfortunately, people losing houses, what have you. There's still that fee. So it's made it through the recession, this funding source, and there's no reason it won't continue. In fact, it was at $4 a transaction fee, and just recently it got voted to go up to $10. So there's even more money there now.
Well, it's just good to hear that it'll be anticipated to be an ongoing as opposed to 1 year. You get somebody into the slot, they get accustomed to what is taking place and the procedures, and then the money fades away. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, my rule of thumb is at least a 5-year funding source that I know is safe and secure before I even bring it to you.
Perfect.
Did you have any more?
2 questions. Will this be a detective that will stay in that position ongoing, or are you going to rotate him off?
A good question, yet to be completely determined, but I can tell you historically how we do this is for caseload and for experience. It'd probably be a detective that would go there for anywhere between, again, not guaranteed, but between 3 and 5 year assignment, and then we'd rotate it through to get that experience for another detective, and they bring that experience home, and we put another detective there. But minimally 3, probably more likely a 5-year assignment.
And we talked earlier, and you said there's about how many cases in Corona directly?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, on average, about 50 cases. And I'm told that's a little bit low. So 50 cases, thank you for asking that. 50 cases that are generated just from our community that are going to the DA's office right now for real estate fraud, which I thought was a pretty high number, actually. I thought it was going to be lower than that, but they said that's conservative.
Wow.
And, you know, you and I had the discussion. I don't think 50 sounds like a lot of caseload, but I do know, you know, with our position, we do hear some of the backstory, and some of these cases are huge. I mean, we're talking multi-million-dollar frauds, because obviously that's where sometimes it pays to have the fraud, and they are ongoing for a long period of time.
Yeah, we've worked one, I think the one I gave the example of, I know the detective was on the same case for almost 6 months, one case. Now, obviously, he's working other cases, but they are very detailed, and like I mentioned, they also involve other crimes, money laundering, organized crime. It's not just that usually, so they get very complex. It's not a simple case, so 50 cases in and of itself is going to be a big caseload.
Okay.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Please vote. Thank you. And
Thank
thanks
you.
for the great explanation on Friday. It brought my blood level down a bit after the 191,000.